Hello everyone, I'm Jung Chol, MariaDB 10 Developer Course, Chapter 1, MariaDB Introduction. Main topics. This chapter will cover this kind of topics. Basic database terminology. 2. MariaDB Introduction. 3. Comparison of MySQL and MariaDB. Basic database terminology. First one, database. Database means a container to store organized data. Here, organized means normally a file or a set of files. Data or information. What is different between data and information? Please check here. Data, information, and knowledge. Data means normally facts and figures which relate something specific, but this one which are not organized. It means there are so many data in the world we are using every day, but all data cannot be organized. But to human being, some data need to be organized. Normally, we call this kind of things is a kind of information. So information normally come from where? Data. So information means contextualize categories and calculate and condensed data. This is a kind of data, but organized. And the knowledge means know-how and understanding, experience, insight, intuition, and contextualize the information. So knowledge also come from where? Information. So for the database, we need to organize the data from here. Two, tables. Table means a structured file to be able to store data of a specific types. So table also a kind of file, and this file must store the data, and this data must have specific type. Normally we call this one data types. Schema means it's a kind of the information about databases and the table layout and properties. If you check this picture, database, there is one database to include many tables, and each database and the table also have their own the information. Normally we call this one schema. For column, column means a single field to contain particular piece of information within a table. So the terms column can be used within a table. Rows are record in a row, and the data in the table stored in a row. If you see this photo, this is a kind of the table. So table need two properties like a column and row. Here, this table has column 1 and column 2, and column 2 divide 2, column 2.1, 2.2 like this. So 1 total, 2, 3 columns. And the row here, row 1 and row 2. Row 1 also divided 2 rows, row 1.1 and 1.2. So there are 1, 2, 3 rows. Each data here, you can see each data must be stored this kind of the spaces. Normally we call this kind of data is a value. 6 data types. I already told you each data needs to be stored with specific data types, and this kind of data type must be allowed by table or database. Each table column needs an associated data type to restrict the specific data in the column. When we create the column, we have to define exact data type like a string, numeric, date and time, and binary. And number 7, nulls. In previous page, I already told you each column row will store the data in the specific the space. We normally call this kind of things is a value, but null used to mean no value in SQL. In the database, like a column and the row, we cannot find any value. In this case, we can say null. All data value does not exist in the database. Normally, we call this kind of situation null. The primary keys. Keys means a column whose value uniquely identify every row in a table. So in a table, at least one the column must be the primary key to here identify uniquely. And also primary keys defined on a single column within a table. So when we create a table, we also need to define exact primary keys using a column. Foreign keys, a field or collection of fields in one table uniquely identifies a row of another table. And this kind of foreign keys used to establish the relationship among tables. Here, you find the relationship. For example, here there are two tables, employee table and department table. And these two tables want to make a kind of the relationship. In this case, now, department table now define the department number as a primary key. But employee table also need this kind of key to make a relationship with the department table. In this case, the department table set up this one. Department number as a foreign key. So this foreign key will have a relationship this primary key in department table. In this case, we can say this one is a foreign key. This one is a primary key. Can be used to establish a kind of relationship between tables. Number 10, SQL means structured query the language to provide a simple and efficient way to read and write data from a database. Database is a kind of database file. So from the usual or application, it is impossible to manage this kind of database directly. In this case, we need some specific language to manage this kind of data. We normally call this kind of data SQL. This language designed specifically for communicating with database. I already told you from users, from applications, we cannot communicate with the database directly. In this case, we need help from SQL to communicate with some specific databases. Number 11, RDBMS means Relational Database Management System. In previous page, I already told you the relationship between two tables. So RDBMS is based on relational model. So in this model, all data is represented in terms of the tuples and grouped into the relations. In the relational model, related the record are linked together with a key. In previous page, I used two key, primary key and foreign key. So database organized in terms of the relational model we call normally relational database. MariaDB also belong to this RDBMS. MariaDB Introduction. What is MariaDB? MariaDB is open source, binary comfortable, and superset of MySQL. Here, superset means is the meaning of extended from MySQL. True drop in replacement of the MySQL. So even if you don't use the MySQL, no problem to use the database using MariaDB in replacement of MySQL. Because MariaDB also supports the same data on a disk on the wire like MySQL and use the same file names, the same sockets and ports like MySQL. MariaDB also created and maintained by the same developers that created the MySQL. And MariaDB is open development, so this one will be developed together with the community through fork, not just a patch set of on MySQL. Later, I will show you the relationship between MySQL and MariaDB. Then you will understand these terms. It means MariaDB is not depending on MySQL for future development. At first time, the MariaDB depends on MySQL source code, but now the latest version of MariaDB a bit not depending on MySQL anymore. More plugins, more features, faster, better code quality supported by MariaDB. If you want to get any information about the MariaDB, then you need to visit this two website. MariaDB releases. So first one, MariaDB 5.1 based on MySQL 5.1. At first time I told you the MariaDB that depends on the MySQL source code and version release on February 2010. So in this version, this one implemented this kind of features like a better build test system, code cleanups, community patches, new storage engines, and table elimination. And MariaDB 5.2 based on MariaDB 5.1 on November 2010. So in this version, community features that did not go into 5.1, like virtual columns, extended user statics, and the segmented my ISM key caches. 5.3 based on MariaDB 5.2 on April 2012. So in this version, this will implement this kind of features like optimizer features. It means faster sub query join like this. And the microsecond, the dynamic columns, the faster handlers, and better replications. And the 5.5 based on MariaDB 5.3 and MySQL 5.5. So here, efficient thread for non-blocking client and the spin SE updated to version this one. And the extended key support for the CitraDB is the main the storage engine and InnoDB is like a MySQL. New limited rows examines the optimization supported also, lots of security fix, new status variable, and small enhancement. But for this course, I will use MariaDB 10 point. So MariaDB 10 point, this version, this one is coming from MariaDB 5.5, some features from MySQL 5.6, and new features on November 2012, like this kind of feature, show explain multi-source, the faster alter table with the unique index, and the deleting, returning this kind of the statement, and the even faster group commit, storage engine for Cassandra to support NoSQL, storage engine for Connect or Talk DB as a new storage engines, per thread memory usage as well. Compatibility between MySQL and MariaDB. As I told you, MySQL here have this kind of version numbers 5.1, 5.5, 5.6. So from this kind of MySQL versions, MariaDB brought this kind of versions here. Version 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, from 5.5 here version. It's almost the same version numbers, but only this one from 5.6. Now we call normally version 10 of MariaDB. So compatibility between the MySQL and the MariaDB. MySQL also have this kind of the properties like a schema, data file, API, protocol, socket and port, connect drivers. So MariaDB also, I already brought this kind of the features from MySQL, but this is not a kind of migration, just the change to enhance some features compared to MySQL. So MySQL and the MariaDB has many common features. So at first, common features between MySQL and MariaDB, binary files, utility of MariaDB have same name of MySQL are compatible with MySQL as well. If you install the MariaDB, you can find some of the data files. Inside the data file, you can find this kind of file as with the FRM extensions. It means table definition file. Of also MySQL 5x are comfortable with MariaDB as well. So MariaDB and the MySQL now using same this kind of file extensions. All client API and communication protocol are comfortable with each other. All file, data file, socket file, regarding replication also, and port paths of file also same. MySQL connector, like a Java driver and C client, is possible to use without any change in MariaDB. Just if you install this kind of things, then MariaDB also will support this kind of feature as well. MySQL client program can be used to connect MariaDB server. So about this one, I will explain in chapter 3. Program and utilities. Okay, here, if you check any of the binary files for MariaDB 10 and MySQL, for example, like a database server program, client program, and subadmin program, dump program, data load, and the other all for the program and utility has a same file name, same binary name. So even if you install the MariaDB instead of MySQL, you will find same program and utility on MariaDB 10. Main storage engines. For the default memory engine, it's a similar memory storage engine embedded from MySQL code, and this one also. But in a temporal table engine, MariaDB will use ARIA, but MySQL use MyISAM. Engine the supporting the transactions. The default the storage engine of the MariaDB is a CitraDB coming from Percona server, but in case of MySQL is a InnoDB. MariaDB 10 also support the NoSQL, especially Cassandra. In case of the MySQL in 5.6, need to install this one memcached plugin to support NoSQL. Who adopt MariaDB? So if you see here, like global enterprise vendors in Linux, like Red Hat, OpenSUSE, and BSD, and the Fedora now adapt MariaDB as a main database system. Except this kind of Linux distributions, also enterprise the vendor like HP or IBM or Jimbro, Google, Mozilla also adapt MariaDB. I think the more enterprise will adopt MariaDB as a main database system instead of MySQL. Okay, chapter 1 summary. In this chapter, you studied this kind of the things. What is the database? What is different between data and information? And what is MariaDB? And what is MariaDB 10 consisted of? And number 5, what is MariaDB similar to MySQL, like common features? And number 6, what is MariaDB different from MySQL? In the next chapter, I will explain this kind of topics. How to install MariaDB 10 on CentOS 7, and number 2, how to start up MariaDB 10, how to manage MariaDB using system daemon, and how to access MariaDB using client tools, and MariaDB file and directory structures. Thank you for watching this video. God bless you and see you in next chapter.